So what if I told you you could take the angst out of the process of putting together a presentation? And if we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Meridith. I'm your public speaking go-to, and you're going to want to save this video and subscribe to this channel. Now, if you've been here before, you may have watched my previous videos where I talk about 10 ways that you can hook your audience for better engagement, and then how to structure an introduction that's also going to hook your audience and keep them engaged. Also set them up for what they're about to hear. Now, what I'd love to do is talk to you about the body of your presentation. So let's simplify things, okay? I'm going to invite you right now. I want you to think about this question. What is it that you want your audience to gain from your presentation? Once you've answered that question, I now want you to break that up into 3 different key takeaways. So, for example, I want you to gain confidence at the end of my presentation if I were delivering a presentation about public speaking. And in that, I'm going to come up with 3 key takeaways to help you get there. The first key takeaway might be I want you to find ways to manage your anxiety and nerves. The second key takeaway might be that I want you to find ways to physically and vocally show up in a more dynamic way. And then lastly, my third key takeaway, I want you to find a presentation structure that is easy for you to use so that you can take the guesswork out and make it a more effortless process. So that's an example of my 3 key takeaways. Now, of course, underneath each one of those, I'm going to build it out. I'm going to give you more context for why anxiety and nerves arise. And then I'm going to give you solutions for how to manage the anxiety and nerves, especially in the face of public speaking. And then in my second key takeaway, I talk to you about how to be a more dynamic speaker using your voice and your body. I'll break it down why that's important and then give you solutions for how to physically show up, and then exercises perhaps for how to better vocally show up and why that's important. And then lastly, for that presentation structure, perhaps I give you a couple different structures that you can try out on your own. And I'll talk to you about why structure is important and why structure is important for you to be able to follow your presentation. And maybe necessarily you don't need to memorize anything, but you need to know it really well. So those were my 3 key takeaways and the things that I would build within those key takeaways. Now, why only reduce it to 3? That sounds impossible, I would imagine, to some of you watching, especially those of you who have more technically driven content. Well, it's less is more, is what I say. So the more you can really just narrow in on what's important and what you want your audience to leave with, the easier it's going to be for you and for them, because then they're not going to get content overload. So why we simplify is so that we leave them also wanting more, leaving them curious, leaving them wanting to go do further research, or leaving them with that one simple action step or those 3 simple action steps to help move the needle in their lives. So that is, simply put, the body of your presentation. Now that you have the body of your presentation pretty well established, we can tie in some of those concepts that you brought in from your introduction. So perhaps we tie back to the story that you told, or we bring a statistic up that counters the one that you started with, or maybe there's a quote that you want to share from someone renowned that you admire. But we want to wrap it up nicely before we get to that call to action. That step we're asking our audience to take before they leave the room. And so next time, please follow me here because I'll talk about how to do a very effective call to action to get your audience wanting more, connecting with you, and remaining curious. And if I haven't said it already, I'm Meridith. I'm your public speaking go-to. Save this video and please subscribe to this channel.